What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast. As always, you're here with me, Jack Anderson, and then my two friends, JP Pusilowski. How are you, JP?
Doing all right.
Rough draft.
Yeah, as you can see, my representation of the Saints has dramatically changed since
Dwindled.
last Thursday. So, yeah, I mean, those who didn't see my live reaction, we posted it on YouTube to at least the first-round pick of Kelvin Banks. Please go watch that. But,
I think you said 3 words over the next, 6 minutes.
yeah, it was pretty bad. It didn't get much better.
And I just sat there, and I felt bad because it was funny for me. So I kept laughing.
Oh, it was.
And the chat was eating it up. It was tough.
It was good content.
I was trying to figure out how to be a good friend to JP in
Yeah.
that moment, and it was difficult.
If you haven't seen that, go watch it. And go back through the live stream and just scroll through. Our guest callers were outstanding on Thursday. Thank you to all of you who called in to the
We
show.
stood up for a little bit. You got some stretches in.
This was true.
We what did we stand
They were
up
back-to-back
for? It was a
trades.
draft.
It was a trade when the Giants traded in.
Yeah.
Because we knew QB was coming at that
We just
point.
didn't know who. We were like, is it Shador? Is it Jackson Dart?
Ooh, literally, no, Shador was not going to get picked for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about
What
that
a
later.
story.
Sanders,
But other than that, I'm doing good.
you're okay. Bet. Sanders, how are you?
I'm doing great. It feels weird to be recording again and not live. I really liked being live. It was kind of
Sure.
fun. A lot of awesome interaction and talking to people and listeners was really cool. So now I'm kind of bored. I don't know, not bored, but just the adrenaline rush. I mean, it was crazy. It was awesome. So
Yeah. Have you picked an NFL team yet?
I
Based on the draft?
no.
Man,
I'm
can't-
ready to assign you with the team that I've picked, but
I think we just may have to let the fans decide at this point.
Yeah, guys, you can't do that. I have to be emotionally invested in this team because if so, you're not. It's not going to be fun.
No, you
For
can get
anyone.
emotionally invested. You just start watching
it
them
doesn't
enough.
take long.
Yeah.
True. I mean,
Just
yeah,
get
I got
NFL Sunday ticket and watch each of their games every week, and then
It's over.
it becomes your life.
true.
You just become a Quinn Ewers fan. Did you see?
He
Oh
went to the
gosh,
Dolphins,
who
right?
was it that
Yes.
said he's better than Dan Marino?
I don't want to know his.
I think it was Antonio Brown. No, it was Le'Veon Bell. Maybe.
Okay.
It was some because the point I saw was everyone's always like, if you never played football, you don't get a say on the NFL. And it's meanwhile, people that have played football, and it was whoever it was being like, I've seen enough. Quinn Ewers is better than Dan Marino.
Oh dear.
Insane.
Please no.
Yeah, it was good stuff as always. Twitter's a wild place.
Twitter was very fun. It was interesting.
I don't know. I had a good weekend too. Went to my first dance recital that I can remember. So not tons of sports for me this weekend. I was more invested in the performing arts.
Big performing arts. Hey, dance is a sport.
Yeah, it is. I'll give it that. I mean, I have a new biggest fear of point shoes because
Dude, they're terrifying.
yeah.
They destroy your toes.
it looks terrible. I mean, when I say fear, it's legitimate.
Have you seen Are you? So I assume you saw them up close and how you have to put your foot in there and
I mean, not from the performance. I've seen them before, but it was the dual thing of seeing them up close and then seeing someone actually perform in them
Yeah.
and being something just not adding up.
Yeah, my cousin was a big dancer. She danced all through high school and considered doing it after high school. And she would talk about how bad it was for feet and
I mean, you're just mashing your toes together from the looks
yeah,
of it, and then you're standing on your
stand
toes.
on them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy stuff. It was a good show though, for the most part.
Hype.
Can't complain. We can get rolling into the show though.
Just a good angle ball game.
I'll get back out there at some point, man. It's
Are you out next weekend too?
well. Here's the thing. I have a wedding. We have the engagement party or whatever.
Oh,
but I don't know
that
what time that's
It's that
at.
afternoon.
Then yeah, I'm here this weekend.
I won't be there. I have to work baseball.
Oh dang, tough.
I might be able. If it's, I think the game is at 3.
So
We'll
you
see.
won't be at the engagement party.
No, no. The game's at 2. It finishes at 5. Party's at 5:30.
Oh, I didn't see. It's bad. This is my party, and I don't know when it is. I do know
think
it's this
that's right.
weekend.
Because your aunt
Um,
texted me.
Yeah, I saw it. She's not my aunt, Lucy's
No,
aunt,
Lucy's aunt.
but she did flame you for being single. She said
Did
there's
I?
still hope or something like
Yeah.
that.
She texted and said, "Are you RSVPing?" I said, "Yes, I'll be there." And she goes, "+1?" question mark. And I said, "Unfortunately, no." She said, "Don't worry, there's still time." I've never met this woman. I didn't have her number saved, and I was just like, "Okay."
She's trying to hype you up, man.
I guess I almost took it as a challenge. I have to find a date before Saturday.
She said the same thing to AG as well. So at least you don't have to feel singled out in that
okay,
regard.
that makes me feel a lot better. If that's her response to everyone, that makes me feel
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
better. Okay.
You did not. She wasn't like, man, this guy sucks. He's such a loser.
I've never met her, or I didn't. know
You're
she
gonna meet her.
existed.
She's hosting the shower.
Yeah, I know. I can't
So,
wait to meet her. and be
thank
like,
you,
I'm the single friend.
Lucy's aunt, for that.
One of the single friends.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about sports.
Anyway, yeah, for the show today, MSU sports update as always on Sunday. Not much to update on, but we'll get there shortly. Then we're gonna do a short little draft recap. It's not a whole show on that. We'll give kind of our biggest winner and loser, other big takeaways. We're gonna talk about the Shadur thing because I know JP has something he wants to say on it.
I think that's gonna take like what 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
I have
10
something.
minutes.
I have something I want to say about it. I'm sure Sanders does too. I mean, it's the news of the weekend, so of course we're going to touch on it, and then we'll recap what's been going on in the NBA playoffs since our last show. A couple different games, some kind of big takeaways, some series swings. So yeah, we'll get into all of that. But JP, you want to get us rolling with the MSU sports update?
Yeah. Well, that's not updated at all. Is it really 5-0 right now still?
He looked on Twitter,
I
so
checked Twitter. Let me go
Okay.
check again.
ESPN for some reason says we're down 2-0 in the top
Down
of the second.
2-0?
Down
could it
2-0.
be yesterday's game?
This is today's game.
Okay, well, ESPN
Maybe,
softball. I
You
doubt
have
they really
yesterday.
Yeah,
follow.
we won 5-0.
Cool.
Today? Okay. I don't know why ESPN says that.
ESPN softball is not it.
Well, this is baseball.
Oh, I was talking about. Oh, I haven't
Oh.
checked baseball
Okay. Well,
That makes
because
way
baseball
more
just
sense.
started.
okay.
Baseball's down 2-0 early.
We are
again.
down 2-0 early in baseball.
Okay.
1-2 in baseball. We lost in Pearl to the School of North. Won Saturday, lost Friday. Softball just went 2-1 on the weekend
Yep. At Kentucky.
at Kentucky. They
Take
get
that, Harris.
They get a series win after losing the two prior series. So softball's back on track. And yeah, Chris Lemonis is still a head coach. Bulldogs signed a lot of the transfers that came in.
Huge.
Um,
No draft picks for Mississippi State in the NFL
For
draft
the
for the first time.
since 2009.
Yep,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense considering where the program has been the past couple years.
Yep.
So
three undrafted free agents were signed.
Stone Blanton.
Stone
Yeah.
Blanton, Kelly
Jimmy-
Acarier,
and Jimmy Bell.
Bell Jr.
I forgot it. Yeah, shout out Jimmy Bellman.
With the Chargers. as an
6'9"
offensive
offensive lineman, man.
Yeah,
I hope he sticks.
I hope he makes the roster or somehow he gets in Madden because that would be really cool to use him in Madden as a Madden head. That would be really cool.
It'd be a good crossover for your interests there, for sure.
Yeah. Other than that, that's basically it for state sports.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing else to add. It's kind of more of the same of baseball underperforming and softball kind of chugging along, playing pretty well. So
Yeah.
Chris Lemonis, count your days, brother, I guess. Probably. Most likely.
Who knows?
Not done yet. If they
Who
win
knows?
today, it's not over.
True. And then if we sweep Ole Miss and Missouri,
Well, Missouri sucks.
We have to.
we have to sweep Missouri
But if we
if
beat Ole
we
Miss-
sweep Ole Miss.
Probably sweeps are hard. Doesn't really matter how bad the team is, man.
True.
But
last I saw, we were projected as a 3 seed in some regional. So
That was.
There's a
I
chance.
saw that before last weekend, but then when we lost last weekend, I've not.
I saw
seen
that sometime earlier this week.
Okay. I mean, it's
Some
different.
random-
Different people have us different places.
Yeah,
so-
random Twitter account. So.
Yeah.
some burner with 75 followers.
Yeah.
He's like,
Thinking he
here's
knows
my
ball.
baseball
Yeah.
bracket.
Yeah, no telling who.
As you can
The
see,
credibility is there.
yeah, it's the weird part of the semester where when the baseball team's not good, so MSU sports interest is I'd say
Softball is still doing
pretty
great.
low. But I'm just saying across the campus as a whole because
yeah.
softball doesn't really get love.
True.
So it's just kind of somehow we're at the let's get excited for football season part of the year, which is crazy considering not exactly a football school. But we
Yeah.
can go ahead and move on to the NFL draft. Do we want to lead with the Shadur stuff, JP?
Sure.
Okay. And do you
want
to start off with that?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
kind of the story of the weekend.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
It's super frustrating for me specifically how the weekend went, and specifically for the way the media portrayed it on all sides. Mel Kiper was not great with taking other players' spotlights. ESPN was terrible with that as well. NFL Network even did it a little bit when Sejour was finally actually drafted. For about 10 to 15 minutes, they only talked about Shador, which is fine. That's what the people want to hear.
It was the
analysis
story of the
on.
weekend.
But they were just, as Mel Kiper would say, disgusting in many ways towards other players in their moment. And then the media in general was just awful. It was crazy to see the change of the narrative for so many people when the day 1 went by, and then day 2 goes by, and then we're halfway into day 3, and then he's finally picked. All these people that are cheering against him, when if I guarantee if you ask these people prior to the draft that who would they have as quarterback 2, how would you rate Shador Sanders, the general consensus would be late first round, early second round, at worst, late second round. But in most cases, quarterback 2, some, school up north would probably say quarterback 3, but they would all kind of agree with where people had them. And it for the draft people that do all the breakdowns and the scouting and all the media people, it's their job. They're not going to come in here with bias. And Mel Kiper had Shador as the 5th rated prospect.
QB1.
And QB1. But Joel Klatt, one of the most respected college football voices in the entire country, the Fox color commentator, had Shador Sanders as quarterback 1. Daniel Jeremiah had Shador Sanders as the 20th player on his board. So it was disgusting to see, oh, well, yeah, he got drafted here because that's where he deserves to get drafted. That's where his talent shows there. And that is just unremarkably true.
Very false is what
Very
you're trying to
false is
say.
what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Very, very false.
It's just this guy. If you turned on the tape, if you watched the games, if you watched him play, you would not think this. This is an NFL starting quarterback. He made all the throws. He can make all the throws. I mean, this guy, he ran for 300 yards, but because the offensive line was so bad across 2 years at Colorado, he had negative rushing yards both seasons. 300 yards rushing across the 2 seasons, but he lost all those in negative sack plays. And some of them were on him, sure, but that's going to happen with quarterbacks. Mahomes gets sacked for negative 12 yards every here and there, but the offensive line was terrible. I've heard, people are saying that Travis Hunter was, he had Travis Hunter. He had the Heisman Trophy winner. Well,
One guy.
I mean, that's kind of how the NFL works. A lot of these quarterbacks have elite receivers, and I don't think it's an indictment on a quarterback when he goes and targets this elite receiver and gets him the ball, because that's what the quarterback's job is to do. That is what it's Mahomes' job to get Kelsey the ball. It was Tom Brady's job to get Gronk the ball. The Vikings quarterback, whoever it is, it's their job to get Justin Jefferson the ball because they are the elite playmakers and they can make the plays to win you football games. So I don't see how that's an indictment on Shador, where it's like, he just relies so heavily on Travis Hunter. Well, yeah, he's supposed to. It's like that's his job as quarterback of that football team. If they're going to win games, he's got to get Travis Hunter the ball. And this is the take that I was theorizing and everything. It was disgusting how they treated Shador and everything this entire weekend. I'm really curious to see next year if we're going to do the same thing with Arch Manning. And I know the very first pushback is, well, Arch isn't cocky and doesn't have this attitude. Well, I disagree. His family does. They literally did it with Eli Manning. Arch Manning literally stepped in and forced the Chargers to trade Eli Manning to the Giants. They forced that. Shador and Dion were theorized to potentially do that this weekend. They didn't do it. They literally just let Shador fall down the draft. So the pushback on, cocky. Well, the Manning family literally did it too. So why wouldn't they do it again with Arch Manning? My thing is, are we going to do that to Arch Manning, or are we going to do what we were actually supposed to do with Shador Sanders and just turn on the damn tape and watch him play and watch him make the throws and look at his stats and look at his numbers and then take into the context of how awful Colorado was. 76 and 154 since 2005. They had 2 winning seasons prior to Dion and Shador stepping foot on campus, and they had a winning season 2 years in. If that happened here at State, they would be praised. They would be, okay, yes, finally, we're back into some consistency. We're actually, out of this poverty that we're in. And if we're not going to do that to Arch Manning, it is just straight BS. And it has nothing to do with race here, which people might say as well. It has nothing to do with race. It's the family name. It's the nepotism that we're trying to push on to Shador. Turn on the damn tape. he's a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's elite. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar. But this guy's a starter. He shouldn't be the fifth quarterback off the board. He shouldn't be drafted in the 5th round. It doesn't make any sense to me. It was pure stupidity. It angered me a ton this weekend, and especially New Orleans. I wish they had drafted him because this guy is a starting quarterback. Like, what are we doing here? And for teams like the Steelers to pass on Shador because, oh, well, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers here. Well, like, if you got Aaron Rodgers, you're probably going 9-8, and now you're the 20th pick in the draft again. And what are you going to do? Get the 4th best quarterback in next year's draft? You're going to get Carson Beck? Or who are you going to take, Shador or Carson Beck? Right now, if I had to ask you, who would you take? Probably Shador. A lot of people would say that, especially after the season Carson Beck just had. So it was disgusting from the media perspective, from Twitter's perspective, from even people that I've talked to. This guy should have deserved to be drafted late 1st round, early 2nd round, and I really hope that like next year, let's just do the same thing to Arch, even though it's awful and we shouldn't do it to Arch. We should apologize to this kid Shador because he did not deserve this whatsoever. I don't care what you say about his character. He did not deserve how he was treated this weekend.
You want to go next, Sanders, or you want me to follow it up?
Oh gosh. I haven't heard your thoughts. I would love to hear. I mean, we were all texting in our group chat with like 20 of us, and
Yeah.
he was getting into it with one other guy. I have not heard you say a word yet, so I would love to hear your
I sprinkled in a little bit because our friend who I know he was not being serious. So I'm not. This is not actually. But he was trying to argue that Dylan Gabriel's better than Shedeur Sanders, which I'm going to say right now. I don't agree with everything JP said, and I will get there. I firmly agree that Shedeur Sanders is not a 5th round QB. He is not worse than Dylan Gabriel. Right? I mean, out of the 3 of us, I think I've been the most anti-Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, probably.
I had him as my QB3. I thought Jackson Dart was better. I don't really see Shedeur Sanders being a long-term starter in the league. JP can tell me to turn on the tape. That's my opinion, and I've had that opinion since pre-draft. So in terms of people, changing it up and being like, oh, well, he went 5th round, so he's got to be, not a good quarterback. I've been there for months now, so don't, I promise I'm not a sheep, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Gosh, where was I going with that? Where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to know. I think it comes down to this, right? I get the fan standpoint, JP. Like, the fans were on Twitter, they were clowning on this kid. He got prank called on his phone, and that's crazy. It's just like, that's just not nice, simply put. It's a foolish thing to do. I felt bad for the kid the whole time. Because I couldn't imagine that being me. And you think you're going to go in the 1st round, and even from a monetary standpoint, you lose a lot of money. But everyone's just kind of hating on you. It got to feel terrible. But I don't think you can sit here and say, well, all these teams passed on him over and over again and that's disgusting. It's a business, and clearly they saw something in the kid they didn't want, right? And it could be attached to Dion, right? Of, oh, well, we don't like the Dion stuff, whatever. If you agree with that, you don't agree with that. But Shedeur has kind of allowed himself to, he's almost attached himself to Dion in a lot of ways. And I do think there's an instance where they tried to do, I mean, there's stuff that came out about what he's done in team meetings. I don't know what's true or not, right? But if he did go into these teams meeting and try and, be like, here's what I want to happen, he has every right to do that. But then the teams also have every right to do, if that's how you want it to go, we're out on that, in my opinion. Yeah. And so if it's a business move and he got burned by the business, it's kind of like Nico to me, right? That sucks. I'm sorry. You played the game and you got burnt, and here's where we are. He's a lot better than the 5th round. The Browns got a steal. I do think he has a future in the league, whether it's a long-term backup or he does start for a while. But, I mean, I completely agree that the media and the fans, the media being like, I don't know, random outlets and stuff, and then the fans, or even some people on ESPN too, just kind of dogpiling on this kid, and it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
But
I'm really glad you said that, because that's I think that's a better way of saying what is going through my brain. I would have said that he was the second most talented quarterback in the class, albeit I was the one that said that this was going to be like the 2022 class with Kenny Pickett, where I don't like any of the quarterbacks.
Sure.
I don't think he should have been drafted in the 5th round because of his talent, but like you said, the NFL is a business. They have drafted guys like Johnny Manziel. They've drafted people who have been accused of a lot worse things than being
Sure.
overly confident and
The
cocky.
National Felon League.
Yes.
There's so many.
They have brought in a lot countless players who've made questionable decisions, and those plays have turned out good. I think if the NFL thought that Shedeur Sanders was talented enough to, like, it wasn't.
I do think this goes beyond his talent, though.
I agree.
Because so I've been thinking about the Johnny Manziel comparison a lot. I'm a Texas A&M fan, right? And yeah, it was well known Johnny left a party. You know, he was an alcoholic, whatever you want to say. When it comes to in-team interviews, though, I guarantee that Johnny went in there, and you know, every NFL QB is cocky. He gets asked questions. You know, how good you think you are, whatever. He's gonna answer them cockily. I guess, is that even a word? Confidently? We'll just go with confidently.
Confidently is a definitely a word.
Cockily is a word, actually, but it just sounds weird to say. But he also, I'm sure, went in and was respectful at the same time. I mean, I've seen Johnny in plenty of interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
At the time and now, obviously now, retrospective, he's going to look back on it very differently.
Yeah.
Right? But if you go in and you don't have any respect for the organization or anything, I don't know what Shedeur did. If he did this, right, that's different than just being like, okay, well, this Johnny guy was really cocky, but he went in and interviewed well. Because there's a huge difference in how you play on the field and how you are in an interview setting, right? I'm trying to think of another example.
Baker Mayfield played cocky.
Yeah, there could even be a kid that was like, everyone's like, wow, this guy's so humble on the field, yada, yada, yada. But then he goes in an interview and for some reason is the complete opposite, right?
Yeah.
It's a different scenario being on the playing field and being in the, like, not on the playing field, I guess, in the office or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what Shedeur did, but I just don't think that a comparison is, like, very fairly drawn there.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I hope he plays well.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in that Browns quarterback room.
His career is over. He's a Browns quarterback.
This is
That
true.
is true.
Like, there's literally only been one quarterback in this century that has done anything remotely well in Cleveland, and that's Baker Mayfield.
What about
And
Joe Flacco last
they
season?
shipped him out, which is really funny because he
Sure.
wasn't good enough.
Joe Flacco last season?
Yeah, I'm just saying,
I'm kidding. I'm messing.
I'm
I'm
saying
messing.
more so saying consistently.
Correct.
And drafted
even
QBs
2
as
years.
well. If you like get drafted to the Browns, it's kind of over
Career
at this
over.
rate.
Correct.
So I think that's the worst part is to this for me, which is this is how sports media is, and there's no way around it. And I find myself falling in this trap all the time too. But you just see reported stuff, like everything's just report, anonymous GM, you know, anonymous coach, and it's just like we don't actually know what the facts are, and so it's hard because everyone wants to draw their own assumptions and be able to have a say on stuff.
Yeah.
But everything is just based on assumptions, right? The only thing that's not assumptions is what he does on the field and on the tape, and then what he's done in what we've heard him say in interviews that are public. So it's just really hard in that regard to get a good gauge on what actually happened.
Yeah. I hope that he has a career in the NFL. I hope that he wins that starting job at the Browns. I love Dylan Gabriel. I had Dylan Gabriel at one point as like QB4, QB. I just really liked you knew what you were going to get with him because of his experience and maturity.
Sure.
But would love to see Shedeur. I mean, that QB room's going to be fun. Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. Or even maybe it's beneficial for him to get cut and then go somewhere and be a backup at a good team and then win that, backup like at the Rams or something behind Stafford.
I really wish the Saints had just picked him because, like, why wouldn't
You might as well.
We literally came out and said we were high on Shedeur. We just liked Tyler Shuck better.
Yeah.
And so why not just have a competition?
Yeah. I mean, go 2012 Commanders mode and bring in RG3 and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And then you have two of the greatest quarterbacks of your organization. It's history.
And neither of them do anything for you.
True,
because
but
you get the best one killed, and then the other one just helps you be mid for a couple years.
And then you let them walk.
We got Jaden Daniels now, so
True.
we're doing all right.
True. All right. Do we want to move on?
Yeah, let's do our winners and losers.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we were doing that. I
Okay,
can
I'm
go
kinda-
first if
cool.
y'all want since
Yeah,
JP
that
started.
works.
My winner, I forget, is in my notes. Oh, Chicago Bears. It didn't really make sense to me at first, the Colston Loveland pick. I think when I kind of stood up, I was like, wow, that's a huge reach. But kind of the more I think on it and the more I reflect on it, I think that's a really huge pick when you think about who the head coach is. Ben Johnson.
Sure.
He was the tight ends coach at Detroit when they picked T.J. Hawkinson, who's turned out to be one of the better young tight ends in the NFL. Going through an ACL injury currently, but very good when he's healthy. So kind of trusting Ben Johnson to know, and I think that he knows that Colson Loveland could be the guy at tight end. That's a huge get for the weapons for Caleb Williams. They pick up Luther Bird in the third and the second round, right?
Yeah.
Another big get for Caleb Williams. So I just really like how they're surrounding a young quarterback. Oh, I got NBA game.
Yeah,
NBA
we got
game.
11 seconds left, and the Knicks are up 1,
talking.
and Pistons have the ball.
That's not.
I'm
bro.
listening. No, I'm listening. I
Keep going.
promise.
I promise I'm listening too soon.
No, I don't want to.
The play's not going on right
Okay,
now.
it's
So
not.
we can clue you back in when
Yeah, just let me know
when the
when
ball's
it's back.
in.
I really like how beneficial or how good that could be for Caleb Williams. Continue to surround him with weapons, give him the most opportunities to succeed. It's really good. So yeah, and then I like Luther Bird in the third. I really loved what we saw from him his sophomore year. He's kind of a monster after the catch. Like I'm excited to see what happens. That offense has so many weapons now with DJ Moore, the Washington guy, Rome Odunze, and now they've got Luther Bird in the third. They've got running. Did they bring in a running back? I can't remember.
They did.
They did. Who
Tom
did they-
Monongai in the 7th round.
I mean, that's one of my dogs. Helped win me a championship in college fantasy football. So I'm excited to see what happens in Chicago. They did not really address defense, but I think they're kind of going. I mean, Ben Johnson's kind of
Respect
trying.
Shamar Turner, Texas
He's
A&M legend.
an offensive coach. True. They did bring in a good player, Shamar Turner.
Just giving you a hard
Addressed
time.
offensive line in the second round, and then spent the third and fourth and fifth rounds. They brought in some defense. So I'm excited to see what happens in Chicago. I think that Ben Johnson is kind of trying to recreate the high-powered offense in Detroit, and then he'll address defense in the future. So yeah, just give Caleb Williams the weapons to succeed. My loser is the Green Bay Packers. I am not the biggest fan. I think Matthew Golden is a good wide receiver too. I think that he is a step down from Tedero McMillan. I think he could be a step down from even Luther Bird in the third. I think he saw. And also some of the things people were hyping up about him, about his speed. He did not play fast. When I was watching his footage, there were numerous plays of him getting chased down in the secondary by guys who ran in the NFL combine like 4.35s. It's like, well, if this guy runs a 4.27, he should outrun the 4.35 guy. And some of it's about angles and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think that he did not. If you watch his tape, he does not look like a 4.27 guy. He doesn't look like a Tyreek Hill or a Henry Ruggs on the field. And then there's also the stories about well, did he really run a 4.27? Was that a botched number? I kind of tend to think it's a botched time. So conspiracy theory or not, I'm not a huge fan of the Green Bay Packers, especially when their wide receiver room is already full of wide receiver 2As. Which when JP talked about he did Matthew Golden's breakdown during the live stream, he called Matthew Golden a really good 2A guy. And I'm just like, well, they already have a bunch of 2As. They've got like 4 or 5 of them in that room. Why do they need another when there are other positions you could address? So
Knicks won, by the way.
really,
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't even looking either, so I
No,
had
you
no
good,
way to
you
tell
good,
you
you
what
good.
happened. I was zoned
were
into
they
your
up?
talk.
Were they up one or down?
They were down.
Oh, so they hit it something.
No, that's what I'm saying. The Knicks won. Sorry, they're asking if the Pistons were down. I don't know why. The Knicks were up with 11 seconds left, and Cade missed a midi.
Mhm.
Yeah, he missed a midi.
All right. Well, y'all can break that down in a second if you want, JP.
We will.
So yeah, that's kind of my loser. The Packers, they brought in 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds to a already room of wide receivers. It's just like, what are you adding here that you don't already have? I don't really see it. I could be wrong, but I don't really see it. So yeah, winners and losers.
Yeah, I'll start with Chicago, I guess. I agree Chicago had a very good draft. They got good players. I'm slightly confused by your analysis. I feel like the Bears already have a good wide receiver room, and then they add a pass-catching tight end in Colson Loveland, who just primarily lined up in the slot. So it's essentially another wide receiver. Not exactly, but he's a playmaker out wide. So you just go back-to-back playmaker out wide. You already drafted a playmaker last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really get the Luther Burden pick. I think he's a good player. I guess they just maybe love the guy and were like best player available. The other thing, too, is it's a new regime change. So none of the guys previously were Ben Johnson's guys. So sure, Rome Odunze was a first-round pick, but Ben Johnson may be like, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy. He's not my guy. I want to
Yeah.
go get my guys. So I'm a little confused by that pick, but I don't think Luther Burden's a bad player. I think he's very good. So I do like their draft. I clearly am much higher on Matthew Golden than you are.
Yeah.
I think he's a step above than anyone the Packers have in their wide receiver room. I think the Packers wide receiver room is deep, but it's a little overrated. You just have a bunch of guys that will every 5 weeks have a good game, and there's just not great consistency in there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of people struggling to find a foothold, and I think Matthew Golden can add some consistency to that and be better than anyone else they have. So, I mean, aside from that, for the Packers, I mean, I think their draft was all right. I don't think it was the best draft by
Yeah.
any means.
But bringing in 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds,
That's just, I mean, to me, that tells me they just don't love what they have in the wide receiver room.
I guess, yeah.
And they've had some, issues there. Romeo Dobbs, whatever,
Dobbs.
had.
Dubes.
I've heard his name pronounced 18 different ways. He had his issues last year. So, I mean, I think they're
Christian
just.
Watson had different size quads and made him strain his hamstring multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, he's just always injured. I
Did
think
you
they're.
hear about that?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I think they're just simply looking for consistency. And I get the whole point of, like, maybe you don't try and do that, first round.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I mean, I think you have to go get your guy, and they feel like they've had their guy, and so they went and got the person they want to lead their wide receiver room. I know you don't think he's a wide receiver 1. I think he could be, so we'll see.
Yeah.
JP, do you want to add anything on those or?
Yeah, the only thing I didn't like about Chicago's draft was, we didn't address running back. But you look through it, like, they didn't really have a chance to.
They kept just missing on guys.
Yeah, Genty was picked, and then in the second round, when they're sitting there at 7, Quinshaw Judkins and Travion Henderson go literally in the 4 picks before them.
Yeah.
Henderson the pick before them. So I think they're like, Luther Burden's still here, and they were probably high on him and picked him. That'd be an interesting thing for them to address. Like, DeAndre Swift was good enough last year, but he wasn't nearly the running back they expected, and clearly not going to be the running back they want. And that was such a big part of Ben Johnson's offense in Detroit. It was predicated on Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles, Montgomery and Gibbs,
Sure.
beating you up. Montgomery with power, and then Gibbs with the speed, and then play action off of that was finding St. Brown on the over routes and Williams down the field and Sam Laporta on the seam routes in the middle. That was kind of what they were predicated on. So I'm interested to see how they go there. They literally have an offense to run the spread, but their problem is they play in Chicago. So I don't know if the weather is going to be such an interesting factor for them.
Sure.
As it gets later in the season offensively. And the same thing goes for the Packers. I like the golden pick. It makes sense. But then again, you also, you're the Green Bay Packers. You play
In Lambeau
Field, and even on April 25th, it's 40 degrees and raining. So I just question, is this style of offense going to play well for the Packers, especially late in the season in Lambeau, and especially as we get to cold weather games, like when you have to go to Philly and whatnot? Throwing the football is just not something that is going to be very, very easy for you. I mean, you look at the teams that have won Super Bowls prior. The Chiefs have been a really, really good cold weather team because they run the ball well, but more specifically, they work within 15 yards and they don't really throw it deep. When they do, they're getting it to a guy in space and then he's going, like Tyreek Hill, Xavier Worthy. The Eagles last year were one of the best rushing team in football. So those are my questions for those two teams. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
all in all, I don't disagree with your winners or losers at all, Sanders.
I don't feel, well, I guess, okay, maybe besides my loser, for slight different reasons than player value, I don't feel like there's just a truly atrocious draft this year, kind of looking through it. Well, maybe the Saints.
Nothing like the 2017
maybe the
Raiders.
Saints.
We'll see.
But another thing I don't really love for the Packers is they didn't get a cornerback till the 7th round, which I think was a pretty big need.
Yeah.
The caveat there, which I understand, is you just can't, for almost any team, I mean, some teams just have so few needs, it works out. You just can't necessarily fill every need in every draft. And if you go in so honed in on what your needs are, you may just walk away with less talented players, and talent just matters a lot. Something I've been grappling with Washington is we needed an edge pretty bad, and we didn't draft one in this draft because we only had 5 draft picks, and just being like, we probably are just better off with who we got than maybe potentially reaching for an edge. And I'm just going to have to trust the front office that, they evaluated their guys and just knowing they liked fell in a position they were comfortable picking them in. And so we just walked away with that one. Cleveland Farrell is starting on the edge for us probably. So
That's tough.
we'll.
Is he the Raiders pick that was like 4th overall?
He was, yeah.
That's funny.
I know.
Yeah, we definitely did not have any drafts as bad. Was that 2017, 2018,
I
somewhere
don't
in
know.
there?
Doesn't matter.
And I mean, who knows? We could look back next year and be like, man, that draft sucked.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, hindsight really does play a large factor in trying to figure out who won and lost drafts. But I can roll into my winners and losers.
Do it.
My winner was the Los Angeles Chargers for the sole factor of they really needed some offensive firepower. They say they have their QB. I think they have their QB. I love Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
But just haven't really had the weapons for him. They got Lad McConkey last year, which is a huge get, but he was kind of the only guy. They had
Gerald Everett, right, at tight end. Was that the
Will
He was not on the team last
Will
year.
Disley or whatever his name
That's-
is.
Will
Yeah, yeah.
Disley
was catching passes and stuff. So round one they get O'Marion Hampton, a guy I'm really high on. Instantly upgrades their running back room that was just kind of had injury issues and a couple guys aging out. Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, great receiver, has had some injury concerns, but I think he's a good, deep ball catcher. Just someone to complement Lad McConkey very well, as Lad's going to play more in the slot, and you're going to line Trey Harris up out wide more. So I love those two picks, and then you get more offensive weapons. Keandre Lambert-Smith down in round 5, along with Oronde Gadsden out of Syracuse, so I like a lot personally. So I just think they went into a draft with the plan of it's time to get Justin Herbert some weapons, and they did that. So that was sorry, I gotta go into my loser.
Yeah.
I was waiting for one of y'all to talk. And then my loser is the Browns, for the factor of I don't feel like they followed their plan that they set in round 1, which was we're really far away from contention. Our team's pretty bad, so we can trade back and get a QB later because we don't think any QB or even a skill position player like Travis Hunter, is necessarily going to help us right now. We're going to trade back, acquire picks, build out the trenches, get a nice strong infrastructure in, and then we can come back in a year or two, add QB, get skill position guys. So they trade back to 5, get a bunch of picks from Jacksonville. I think they got a pretty good haul, all things considered. They draft Mason Graham, like that pick. But then looking down the line, they go 2 QBs. Shadir's good value in round 5. I won't argue that at all. That's great value. But Dylan Gabriel in round 3 makes 0 sense, especially if you just end up with Shadir, which I guess they didn't want to pick Shadir in the 3rd round, but then when he was in round 5, they're like, all right, well, he's too good to pass up. But that just makes no sense to be like, we're going to trade down because we don't really feel like we need a QB now, to then take 2 QBs and then also double up on running backs in this class, which it's a great running back class, but again, seems counterintuitive to what their plan was going into the draft. And then also, I don't think Quinshon Judkins was not one of my favorite running backs in this class. I feel like they reached on him over some other guys. I would have taken his teammate, Travion Henderson, above him, and they don't do that. They also get Harold Fannin, another skill position guy. So I'm just kind of very confused by what they did, honestly. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I don't necessarily hate all the players they got or anything, but I guess it feels like classic Browns, honestly, of I'm not sure what they're doing.
If you're going to trade out of 2 and not select Travis Hunter and get the pick next year, so that way you have 2 chances at a quarterback next year. Either you're bad or the Jaguars are bad, or you have 2 picks in the teens.
You bundle up and move up.
And you could bundle up and move up, yes. But then to pick 2 more quarterbacks, and more specifically pick Shador, who would be a first-round quarterback, second-round quarterback in this year's draft, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like next year, you're going to have these picks. I guess I guess the hope is these picks or these quarterbacks, one of these quarterbacks works out, and you have 2 chances at a defensive player and an offensive player in next year's draft. And then, the running backs make no sense to me. Jerome Ford is still there, and Nick Chubb is still there. So it just doesn't make any sense to me to then take 2 running backs in Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. It's like you said, it completely contradicted what they did on night 1, which is move and get picks to next year's draft. And then I don't know, the fifth round pick. People in theorizing, it did kind of look like an owner's pick. It looked like
The draft room didn't seem too happy.
yeah, they weren't very ecstatic about it. There's just no, I refuse to believe that the Browns actually had Dylan Gabriel higher than Shador Sanders from a talent perspective. And if the issue was, oh, we're not going to take Shador here in the third round
You just weren't going to take him at all at that point.
because he's going to be a locker room problem. You don't want to have the celebrity backup. Well, then why the hell would you take him in the fifth round?
Yep.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah,
I agree.
Cleveland with Cleveland again, they had a very bad draft. I imagine they're going to be back here in the top 5 again next year. So it kind of works out for them. They'll have that in the Jaguars pick. But yeah, I would have taken Travis. I would have taken the difference maker. You could have had Travis and Shador Sanders, which was successful at Colorado as a duo. If the team wasn't successful, you can make that argument, but the team also didn't have Myles Garrett. So
Sure.
there's a little bit of a difference there.
So-
Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, okay. Unless you're done, I can.
Yeah, I'm basically done.
Cool. It's just an aside, but it's so funny that Myles Garrett, when he resigned, was like, "Oh, the team has a plan at quarterback. Like, trust." I can't imagine this is what they told him the plan at quarterback was.
Absolutely.
Which I mean,
We're gonna
obviously,
bring in Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and then we're gonna draft Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders. Trust.
Yeah.
There's a process here.
which I know Myles Garrett's just saying that to say that, and the ownership and front office just told him that to tell him something. He really cares about the money he got, most likely. But it's funny to think about it in that light.
Yeah.
I expect Shador to start out of this group. It doesn't make any, from a talent perspective, he's the best quarterback here between Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shador.
It's a thing too.
I don't think anyone could be like aggressively like pound the table and be like, oh no, this guy's better than Shador.
I agree.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Joe Flacco start.
I wouldn't.
Just
That would be the
just
only
from
thing.
a
Veteran standpoint.
veteran standpoint, experience in the offense. I would not be surprised at all to see Joe start. I don't think it's gonna be Kenny Pickett.
No,
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what Kenny Pickett's contract looks like, but I wouldn't be surprised.
they can't carry all these QBs.
I wouldn't be
So.
surprised if he's the odd man out and they carry Gabriel and Shador.
Sure.
But it'll all just depend on how. If NFL teams were right about Shador and he has a problem in the locker room, then he could get cut, and if he's not, then Kenny Pickett gets cut. I don't know. There's just
And they're in a tough spot. Like they have to keep Gabriel and Shador, unless you're going to trade one of them, because you can't put either of these guys on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to get picked up by someone. They're too good to be on a practice squad. So Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco are going to have to be moved.
Unless you made a mistake draft night, and why would they do that?
yeah, you can.
Because
Cut,
I mean, if you trade
And
Dylan
then-
Gabriel or cut Dylan
Yeah.
Gabriel, you're admitting you made a mistake, or vice versa.
If they made a
But teams
mistake,
don't like to do that early on. So
you
if
can
they
cut a
made-
5th round pick. You could cut Shador if it is a problem. That's one of the. I was
I mean,
listening to
you could, I guess, but I don't see them doing that.
I was listening
but,
to a podcast breaking it down.
they'd rather trade him. I think. They could
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
one.
exactly. And even
They
trading
definitely
it.
would, but you can cut a 5th round. Like teams cut 5th round picks in training camp all the time.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
even.
You could.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you're right for sure, but I
they
don't.
definitely don't want to.
They don't want to because it wouldn't look great. I don't know. Just another strange draft from the Browns. I agree. I think Shador is maybe not the most likely to start. I think he's the most likely to play the highest percentage of snaps this year, because I feel like he's probably he's the most talented in the room these days. I mean, Joe Flacco obviously was a
I felt bad for Dylan Gabriel
he just
because
gets,
he was the point where everyone goes, "Okay, now this is just absurd." Like Shador's fallen this far. It's
Yeah.
like,
He
why
was-
did Dylan Gabriel have to be the guy?
he was the
It's
first
like,
one drafted. Everyone's like, okay, like this is the one I really can't see at all. That is a good
Felt
point.
bad for the poor guy. It's like, well, what was wrong with the guy drafted before him? Like, why couldn't he be the guy that y'all were
Yeah,
freaking out about?
that makes
Because
sense.
Shador is
I know it was just funny.
way better than.
It makes sense
Dylan
he was the
Gabriel.
guy, but it is just funny. But yeah, I mean,
A subtle diss. Very
Shador
subtle.
Shador has the best talent in the room, in my opinion, and I also feel like he came in as a fairly NFL ready prospect. So it's not even thinking like,
100%.
well, he's really talented, but he's just not ready. I don't,
No,
it's
he's
not
ready.
a Milrow thing in that regard. So I think he'll play a good chunk of the snaps this year.
Yeah.
You want to give us your teams, JP?
Yeah, my winner would be the Dallas Cowboys.
They had a good draft.
They addressed everything but putting Andrew, who was on the show, the NFL draft, and gave his thoughts on Tyler Booker pick, but he said they didn't put someone who's alive next to CeeDee Lamb, which I agree. CeeDee
True.
Lamb has zero help. I don't know how they're going to address that. Maybe they trade for George Pickens. I was kind of surprised they didn't do that this weekend, but maybe they do it here down the road. But other than that, they addressed a ton of needs. Tyler Booker is a great pickup, even if you think it's a reach for an offensive guard.
He's still a great player, undeniably.
And it's another thing. Like, well, it's Dallas picking offensive linemen. You can't really like say, "Oh, you guys are stupid. You guys don't know offensive linemen." Well, they have like 3 guys who are going to be Hall of Famers, and a bunch of more successful starters. They just continue to do this for 15 plus years now. So Tyler Booker, I think, is going to be great for them. Ezra Raku falling to the second round was surprising to me. He was, I think he was like 18th or something on my board, and he's here at 44. I think he's going to be great. He's a great replacement for DeMarcus Lawrence. Put him on the other side of Micah Parsons. These are 2 guys who are extremely fast and are really, really good at getting to the quarterback. I think that's going to make Dallas a very, very interesting defensive line. Siobhan Ravel being here, he's coming off the ACL, but this guy's a terrific corner, and for them, they've had questions there, even though we've been told that their 2 corners are excellent because of Trayvon Diggs and what's the other guy's name?
Oh, gosh.
The guy who set the record for pick sixes. I forgot his name. But, yeah, we've been told, like, these guys are excellent, 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 but in reality, I don't think the actual, like, really, really good, not good, but really football fan thinks that they're perennial corners in the league. And so that's a good pickup there in Siobhan Ravel. And then Jaden Blue falling all the way to the 5th round kind of surprised me. I think he's a home run hitter. He's going to be, I think he has a really good chance to be the starter at running back next year. They have Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, who they brought in this offseason. But, like, this guy easily could be the starter at some point next year. And then Phil Maffa, I think, has a really good chance to make the roster.
That's good value in the 7th.
And in the 7th, it's great value. His big thing was last year was he had to stay healthy, but this is a guy who's physically overpowering. And on top of that, he still has the ability to hit the home run. So, like, that could be a very interesting duo in Dallas next year.
Yeah.
And I think he'll make the roster. And then for my loser, it's the New Orleans Saints. I thought on the first round pick after Thursday, I actually liked it going into Friday. It kind of made sense to me. We addressed that, and we're like, all right, well, Shador fell through the first round. Now we're in a spot where we can take our quarterback, or even if we didn't want to take a quarterback and we wanted to wait to take a quarterback, which apparently we could have. We could have waited till the 5th round to do it. We can then go and grab like Will Johnson or Ezra Raku or someone here and address another need. And then we took Tyler Shuck. It felt like a reach to me. That was where he was valued coming into the draft. But where they're coming into the draft and then where they're going based on how the draft is going are 2 completely different stories, especially when Pittsburgh is really the only other team that needed a quarterback at the time. And the Giants had addressed it, and the Titans had addressed their quarterback, and the Browns had already picked twice in this round before Tyler Shuck was picked. So it didn't make sense to me. Will Johnson is on the board, Azuraku is on the board, and for me, it just like, well, did we need to take quarterback here? To be honest, I don't think so. But Kellen Moore likes him. It's his first time. He's first season head coach. He wants to pick his guy, and he thinks he's got his guy. He called him freaking Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins yesterday. So yeah, elite quarterback play right there, right? Guys who really, really elevate the team and aren't guys who just give it to the guys who are actually good, like the receivers and running backs and whatnot. So maybe that's what Kellen Moore wants, but for me, it's like the quarterbacks he's had in Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. It's those guys are like much, in my opinion, much better than Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins because they have the elite playmaking ability. They can score on their own.
Yeah.
They can make plays for themselves and don't need the other guys to get open. And so we're going to take a step down from that. Now, Kellen Moore has made terrific seasons out of quarterbacks many, many years in different systems. So we'll see how it goes. But, like, it's making this pick makes the Saints like he has to be good, or quarterback play. Even if Spencer Rattler starts next year, or for some reason Derek Carr is healthy and he gets to start, they have to be good. They have to be good because like we've made our stand already as a first year head coach. Like these are going to be our guys, and you can say like Kellen Moore said multiple times, "Oh, we have a lot of trust in these guys. We really like these guys." They have to be good because in New Orleans, we are getting tired of mediocrity, especially given how bad the division has been for 5 years. There's really no reason we shouldn't be winning the division every single year. We shouldn't be hosting a playoff game in the Dome. And what's been holding us back is quarterback play for the most part. We've had good rosters. We've had great defenses. We have good weapons in Shaheed and Olave and Kamara, who's just elite. So, like, Shuck or Rattler or Carr, whoever it is, has to be good. Or it's just like, I mean, come on, fire Mickey, please. Like, or fire Kellen Moore after 1 year. But, in my opinion, if this was Shador, I don't think it would have to even be that way. Because, for one, I wouldn't expect it to be that way. Shador, I think, is way better than Tyler Shuck, in my opinion. But it doesn't feel that way. Like, oh, well, we can develop Shador. Shador can actually be the face of the franchise. I don't think in anyone's eyes that Tyler Shuck can be the face of the franchise immediately. I think he can be the quarterback of the franchise, but he'll never be the face of the franchise. So a huge question mark in the second pick. And then going from there, like, we need cornerback help. We in a division that's going to have the receivers that the Buccaneers have, the receivers and the quarterback that the Falcons have, and then Bryce Young and Ted McMillan. Like, we trade Marshawn Lattimore, and then we don't bring in any corners in this draft, especially with Will Johnson on the board. It's an extreme question mark there as well, where our secondary is going to be extreme question mark. We're good at safety, but we're not good at corner. And so that's an extreme question mark about the draft as well. There were picks I liked. Kelvin Banks and Jonas Sanker, I really like those two picks. And Denny Stutzman actually has a chance to be a decent second-team middle linebacker for us.
Yep.
But it was a draft that just brought too many questions, and now it almost puts extreme ultimatums on this season. It puts Kellen Moore under a ton of pressure for no reason when that's not really how you want your first year to go.
Sure. Yeah, I don't really love the draft for New Orleans either. I do like Fidel Diggs in the 7th round. He's an A&M guy, and I'm not just saying that because he's an A&M guy. In a couple seasons where a lot of A&M defensive linemen underperformed, he always brought it, and I think he has potential to make the team, which as a 7th round pick is kind of really what you're looking for, is someone to provide some depth. It's kind of crazy to look at all these drafts too, and it's like every running back that's taken, I'm like, I really like that running back, which, I mean, this is just an insanely deep running back. I think Devin Neal gave Kansas really good production, just kind of a workhorse there. I told y'all in the group chat yesterday, my mom is currently teaching Jonas Sanker's younger brother, so we got a little connection there.
Is that a HIPAA violation or something?
Nah. I don't think so. No, my mom's school's gonna fire her now. But the QB piece is just tough. I guess I don't know. I guess they love Tyler Shuck. I guess you have to take that at face value, but that just seems that feels very hard to believe.
Yeah.
Is that you find yourself in love with Tyler Shuck? No disrespect to the guy, but when you're a team that's really, really looking for answers, that's who you turn to.
Yeah,
Good
we're gonna
luck.
He's an older guy.
Injury history.
Extensive injury history for an organization that also has an extensive injury history, and a bad one at that. And so it's just like, well, now we're just going to bring in, this is just Derek Carr, but 6 years younger, or 8 years younger, however younger he is. Like, I mean, come on.
At this point, you just probably wish Derek Carr never got hurt.
Sure.
Though they maybe still would have taken him, but...
That'd have been crazy.
And then sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't really agree. I don't like the Cowboys draft, personally.
Interesting.
I
was about to hype it up even more.
So check the mic. As soon as the draft ended, they went live and recorded a 2.5-hour podcast breaking down every pick from the first round, like as soon as the first round ended. So they were recording till like 2 or 3 in the morning. They are different animals. But they pointed out that Tyler Booker out of Alabama had a very good pass block grade, but not a good run block grade, like a pretty bad one actually. And there has not been a successful long-term guard to come in the NFL with a poor run block grade in a while. So I think that was kind of a reach, especially just guard that early in the first round. We saw another one go, maybe 2 more in the first round. Were there 3 guards in the first round?
I believe there were 3 guards in the first round. The other 2 are people that have some people project they could play tackle long term.
Yes, it was the North Dakota State guy.
And then the guy from another Ohio State guy, Donovan Jackson.
Yeah.
My pushback on that was maybe the Cowboys saw how the first round was going to go.
Yeah.
And they really liked this guy in Tyler Booker.
Yeah.
And thought maybe they can get him in the second round, but they didn't want to risk it.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other pushback was one of my main points is you kind of have to trust Cowboys on offensive linemen.
This is true.
I think what really more makes the draft for me is rounds 2, 3, and then their 4th pick in round 5 with Jadon Blue, because Tyler Value guard, maybe a bit of a reach. I do like the player, but Ezeraku's great value. Siobhan Ravel is great value.
This is true.
We had B-roll for him in case he went in the first round.
Yeah, I mean there was other than that first overall pick, I do like the draft.
Jadon Blue, fumble issues, which got him in trouble at Texas, and they're even more strict on that in the NFL, I'd say, is you just cannot fumble. But if he gets that cleaned up, you're exactly right. He's a home run hitter, has great speed, good vision. That's a good get. So I get the Tyler Booker thing is a little iffy, but I think they really knocked it out of the park. And I like Tyler Booker a lot, but their 2 through 4 picks are great.
That was why I changed my opinion, too, with the way I reacted originally to the Kelvin Banks pick, and then after was, well, you look at the way the first round went.
Great players still on
You were
the
able
board.
to get the best of these players that were available. And you look at the players that were available in the second round, there's the big gap between the players that were drafted first and second round. So the trenches are clearly valuable. We saw that in the Super Bowl. We've seen that time and time again. So, when you have a chance to get these good players, you take reaches on these players because they're that imperative to your team.
Sure.
A quarterback can't be good without a good offensive line, unless you're Shedeur Sanders. So
True.
I mean, even Mahomes can't do it. So we saw in the Super Bowl.
You could argue taking a team with a bad offensive line to the Super Bowl is
it can only get you so far, though. I mean, he looked terrible in the Super Bowl, and it just wasn't really his fault.
Yeah. I 100% agree that you have to. The best place to start building a team is in the trenches. I just don't know if guard is where I. I mean, yeah.
Who are they going to take? Who would you rather them take right there?
That's a great question.
If you look at the first round, and
because you clearly didn't want Matthew Golden there.
Yeah, you didn't want Matthew Golden.
Oh, Marion Hampton.
Okay.
Maybe, sure.
I probably would like him better than Jadon Blue.
They had already brought in 2 running backs in the offseason, and Javonte Williams.
Yeah, but I think Marion Hampton was better and cheaper than both of those. Maybe not cheaper. He actually might not have been cheaper.
And if you're a big on offensive line, you can't. Omari Hampton isn't going to be good because the offensive line isn't good. That's your opinion.
Yeah.
So that is your opinion.
I didn't say that.
No, his opinion was Ashton Genty's a bust.
More. I never said Ashton Genty.
You said Ashton Genty can't be good because the Raiders' offensive line is bad.
No, I said offensive line is more important to the run game than the running back. That is not the same thing.
Sure.
I mean, I think my answer would have been Marion Hampton or Matthew Golden. Just our TikTok would have been right, not because I like him.
Yeah, we were only one TikTok was correct. I'd like to take full credit for that.
Cam Ward going first overall.
Yeah, the Shedeur Sanders to the Colts one worked out really well.
I really thought there might have been a spot where they were going to take because they ended up taking Riley Leonard.
They did take a quarterback.
Riley Leonard, yeah.
And
so it's
my Colin McCord TikTok was technically correct. I never said he was going to get drafted 4th overall or as the 4th QB. I just said he was my 4th QB, and that's purely subjective, and I still hold to that.
I guess that's fair.
Do we have anything else to say about the draft?
No, that was awesome.
It was a great time. The Shedeur Sanders stuff sucked, but it did make for a very eventful draft weekend. Just kind of being more and more amazed as he was just still sliding and being like, "What is going on?" Then, I mean, there were other good storylines too. And
Josh Pate said it best. He said, "If the NFL could have made Day 3 pay-per-view, and he would have asked his dad for his credit card, he'd be like, I need to get this,
And it's always fun as just a huge college guy to be like, oh, I remember that guy from this game.
Yeah.
Or, being like, oh, I get to watch my A&M boys get drafted is always a fun time. feel like a proud
Unfortunately,
father
did not get to watch any
somehow.
state guys get drafted.
Next year.
True. I don't know if I know anyone. Oh, Damian Martinez, former Mississippi State Super Bulldog weekend legend. I do know
Okay.
him. He was a Mississippi State recruit out of the portal from Oregon State, came to Super Bulldog weekend.
And then didn't.
We
hear.
thought we had him, and then he went to Miami.
Well, you also had Woody Marks,
Woody Marks, yep.
former State Bulldog.
Curtis Rourke, that's a dog.
He
Man,
left.
this 7th round is stacked. Quinn Ewers, know that guy? Kyle Monungai. Tez Johnson.
Did y'all see what the Patriots posted on Twitter for their Mr. Relevant?
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it.
And then
What?
instantly deleted it.
Yeah,
You should just look it up.
just look it up. We
If
probably
y'all want to,
can't
y'all
say
can
it.
look it up too. But we can move into NBA playoffs.
Yeah, with a lot of actions.
I was gonna say games are going on right now. As you heard us talk about earlier, the Knicks won by 1 to go up 3-1 in that series. Won both games in Little Caesars Arena. They're both close games, very fun games. The Lakers are up 4 right now. Is that what they said?
Yeah,
Pretty early.
first quarter still.
LeBron looks like he came to play again,
Yeah, LeBron was 9
based
so far.
solely off points.
But
that is.
yeah, Knicks Pistons was excellent. Both of those two games. We just watched the end of Knicks Pistons live here on air.
I'm gonna look up some stats for that game.
Karl Anthony Towns took the criticism and he answered with 2 excellent games. He was great today. He was great on Friday. Today he scores the final 5 points in the game, the 2 biggest shots in the game. He hits the same big shot he hit on Friday here on Sunday, and then answers with like literally an ISO 3. And for it to come from a 7-footer big man,
Yeah, I mean he went 5 of 7 for 3 today.
it was insane. Like y'all need to, if you haven't seen it, go watch.
I'll watch it later for sure.
Yeah.
Brunson had another good game.
Brunson continues to be the playoff performer that he is, and yeah, the Pistons lose 2 games at Little Caesars. They this series is over. Unfortunately for them, I just don't see them winning 2 games in the Garden and winning Game 6. Cade Cunningham needs help. The Jaden Ivey injury clearly hurt them a ton. That was a 17 points per game score right there. I'm interested to see where they go. In a perfect world, they could land Kevin Durant, but why would Kevin Durant want to play in Detroit? But they need something like that. They need another scorer.
Sure.
I would almost consider maybe trading Jaden Ivey to a younger team for.
Depending on what his value is.
Yeah, pretty insane.
Why did the Patriots delete that? That's
It's not as bad as what we did, but
it is not as bad as what we. Yeah. I mean, I
It,
guess
and nowhere near as bad as what y'all did.
yeah, we we were much worse on social media this weekend. State was, that is. But yeah, the Pistons again, electric crowds. Wow. Knicks fans traveled really well to Detroit. So many celebrities, especially in Detroit.
So Timothy
and wasn't
Chalamet and Ben
Detroit
Stiller
the place that
chopping
they
it
weren't
up.
selling tickets outside of the state of Michigan and Ohio?
Yeah, but resale markets.
That's kind of
So-
that's
And
funny.
it's Ben Stiller and Timothy Chalamet and Spike Lee. Like, they're going to get tickets.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. I just think it's funny that you pointed out how well the opposing
When
fan
they
base
did all that, it
traveled
just didn't matter.
when it was like a big deal that Detroit wasn't selling. Like that's just funny to me that was.
And
a
New York
notable-
people got a lot more money than Detroit people. That is for sure.
What was the Tim
Which
Hardaway
helps.
stat? How many points did you have to score?
He has to
in there?
score 10 or more.
Okay, so once again, the trend is bucked.
Yeah, it
today.
was bucked. It's now been bucked 3 times in the series. He scored 10 or more points. So yeah, and he scored 10 or more points in 4 games this series, if I'm not mistaken. And
I thought in game 2 where they won, he actually didn't.
actually, yeah, you're right.
he
They
didn't
reversed.
score.
But yeah, big story is Cat responded with 2 excellent games. Someone in our group chat was talking bad about him, and he kind of cooked today. So shout out that guy. That guy also thinks Dylan Gabriel is better than Shador. So he's got great takes. Whether they're rage bait or not, that's up for people to decide. Knicks Pistons, yeah, that was really good. And then
Next up would be Nuggets Clippers.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about Nuggets Clippers.
This has been the premier round 1 matchup. We're just getting cinema night in, night out from this series. They played last night, and the Nuggets won on a little buzzer-beating dunk by Aaron
First of the
Gordon.
playoffs ever.
It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that in my entire life.
Because it was looking like it was going to go to overtime. Jokic misses the 3.
You've
Just gets that thing out of his hand.
Yeah, you rarely see anything like this kind of like close ever. You don't see some people shooting Rarely do you see even people shooting with like .1 or .2 on the clock. You see the tip ins here and there, but for like it to be like the ball is going through the cylinder, and the rule is it has to be fully left his fingertips. So it's literally like speed of light, like bang bang. The ball leaves his fingertips as the clock goes to 0. Oh my God! I mean, that was just outstanding, especially like for the Nuggets. That keeps them in the series. That keeps their season alive. They let the Clippers go on a 32-11 run after getting blown out by the Clippers last Thursday, and they were able to escape here. Like Michael Porter Jr. gives them a great game with his injury. Jamal Murray was not good, but like Jokic, 36, 21, and 8 with only 2 turnovers this time.
Jokic had his best game of the series here, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. But I guess my only pushback is like, well, we finally got the Harden clunker game, and
Sure.
Kawhi wasn't great. He had 24. He was good down the stretch. Norman Powell had a good game, but like Zubac was excellent. But like Harden had his clunker.
I will. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. You're gonna. We talked about pre-series. You're gonna get the Harden clunker game. A couple things I do want to say about that. It's crazy they almost won despite the Harden clunker game.
Mm-hmm.
This is also not a typical Harden clunker game. We have seen way worse in terms of clunker games from Harden.
Oh yeah,
He was 15 and 11 on 45% from the field and 4 turnovers. You would like to see more scoring there. But, I mean, the 11 assists is you'll take that. But, I mean, we've seen clunker games where he has, like, 8 turnovers and 10 points in a game and stuff like that in the playoffs. So he's done worse. But, I mean, it's a huge win for the Nuggets. Jokic had to be amazing in the series for the Nuggets to win. And I think this was the first game he was finally, like, wow. You know, he gave us what we've been used to for Jokic. You know, it's kind of crazy looking at, like, Game 2 and Game 3, and he has, you know, only a 24-point triple-double. And it's like, man, Jokic just, like, we needed more from him tonight, and he gave us that. You know, who knows? Russell Westbrook is out with an injury. You know,
the
you don't
pressure.
have to worry about him anymore as a Nuggets guy. You get your win.
What's great about it, the pressure, like that put back by Aaron Gordon, the pressure just like completely flips to the Clippers now in Game 5. They have to win Game 5 really to be in a good spot in the rest of the series. And then like, because like you blow out Game 3 and like you go on this big run. Here's the second half. The third quarter, 35-17 in the third quarter for the Nuggets, 34-16 for the Clippers.
Yeah,
just insane. And the Nuggets are able to escape here and win by 2. So like for them to have that run in the fourth quarter and exert all this energy, Norman Powell hits these big shots, these big tip-ins. Man, to lose that game now, like you're on the road, you're in Denver, all the pressure is flipped entirely. This is what an excellent series. And for the Clippers, it's like, well, the Clippers should feel like, man, we have won 3 games in this series.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 if you want to argue. They kind of felt like they should have won Game 1.
They let it slip away late.
And here they are 2-2, losing home court. Man, the pressure is all back on them again. And I think the Nuggets are going to take advantage of it. I expect the Nuggets to win Game 5. And everything will rely. I think it's going to go to 7 here at this point.
I agree. The series is so. I mean, there's many reasons the series is fun, but the fact that it just seemed like there's a different, like, suspect that, or like, I don't know if suspect's the right word. There's a different reason every team is winning, like the different games, right? It's oh, Jamal Murray was bad tonight. You know, oh, we got a great Jokic game. Oh, Norman Powell had a huge game. Oh, we got Kawhi game too. It's just like you never know what to expect going into the game. So it makes it so fun. And then, I mean, the fact that every game it comes down to the last second obviously adds to it. But it just is like, oh, what am I going to get tonight? Is it going to be the Harden clunker game? Is that finally coming? Are we going to get the Westbrook what the hell is he doing game? You know, it makes it so much fun to tune into this every night.
It is, yeah. What's also cool about it is like just like the veteran presence.
Correct.
Here. We've seen Kawhi, Harden, Westbrook throughout their entire careers. We've seen even Jokic. This is like his 6th playoff run, and Jamal Murray. This is his 5th playoff run, and so like we've seen these storylines so many times, which is so great about like this era of sports where it seems like all of the old guys are still sticking along and still playing really, really well. it makes the drama that much more. It's not just a random March Madness game. It's former two-time MVP James Harden, who has a historic history of having clunkers in the playoffs. It's two-time MVP Nikola Jokic, who's won a championship and is trying to get back to the mountaintop. It's two-time MVP Russell Westbrook. It's so cool. It just really adds on to the series.
It's just so cool how like unfazed they seem too, because there's been some crushing, defeats and huge victories for both sides in this series. And I mean, I saw a tweet after yesterday's game. It was like it was announced the buzzer beater was good, and it was like there's Jokic and Kawhi, just no reaction. They're just like, all right, next game, let's get it. It's a blast. But I think we can move on from that series. I mean, I agree. I think that one's going 7. Just an update: Lakers are up 4 right now at the end of the first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that kind of feels like a must-win game for the Lakers in a lot of ways, to be honest.
100%.
I mean, you got no one wants
Wait,
to
y'all
go down
talking about the
3-1.
Lakers?
Huh?
Y'all started talking about the
Well, I was
Lakers?
just giving a Lakers score update as we were
okay.
moving off of the Nuggets Clippers.
Did you already do Knicks Pistons?
Yeah, we
Yes.
did. I mean, just I think Knicks in 5. K,
Yeah, I
K
think they
can't.
closed it out in Game 5.
K doesn't have enough help. He's played well. He had a triple double today, but just it's a great season for Detroit and a season they'll be very happy with. They're
Terrific.
ecstatic with it, ecstatic.
Yeah.
But they just need more simply.
They're going to go down the same path like the Lions did, where luckily for them, this postseason they didn't get like really, really close to the mountaintop because it happened with the Lions.
Yeah, makes it hurt a little more.
Yeah, 3 years ago they missed the playoffs because the Seahawks won that day. And then 2 years, they literally have the lead against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, and they choke. And then last year, they get destroyed by Jane Daniels. So it's a similar stretch, but I don't think you can say, like, the Pistons shouldn't be happy with the season. 30 wins better in the NBA.
That doesn't happen.
The NBA is not a league of parity.
What did the Cavaliers improve? How many wins did they improve?
10, 15 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like the 3 or 4 seed last year. No,
Yeah.
the Cavs.
So it's unbelievable. This is a league that's not built on parity. The reason teams change record from year to year is because a superstar went there, and so or a superstar retired and the team is bad.
Yeah.
Or a superstar leaves, like LeBron leaves the Cavs, and all of a sudden the Cavs are bad again. So it's just outstanding season for them, especially for a team that like they don't have a lot of star power. They don't have a lot of like Cade Cunningham is their best player, but not really many people know his name, and they play gritty. Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley are projects who have played tons of seasons, had really good ones, really bad ones. A terrific season for them. They just kind of run into an unfortunate matchup where you're playing a Knicks team that's just has better players everywhere.
Yeah.
At every position. So
Yeah, but we can move into the Lakers,
Timberwolves.
So they're currently playing Game 4, but the Timberwolves are up 2-1, and this has been a roller coaster of a series. And every game, I feel like I come out of it feeling very different than how I did going into it. Kind of where I'm at now is going into the series and going into the playoffs with the Lakers. It was a thing of like, well, they have glaring roster holes, but they have LeBron and Luka, and so, you have two of the best players right now. Maybe LeBron's fading a little bit, but he's played great down the stretch, and Luka's Luka, and maybe Luka wasn't playing as good as he had been post-injury, but he's a playoff riser, and he's going to get there, and Luka's not gotten there yet. Especially, Game 3.
Game 3 for sure, yes.
And I know he was sick Game 3. He was, apparently vomiting all day, and that sucks. But for the Lakers to make a run in the playoffs, there's always going to be you're going to need consistently great performances from Luka night in and night out, and from LeBron night in and night out. And you've not necessarily gotten that here. And I was talking about it with my brother-in-law, and it was a thing of, the Timberwolves are not a team that's going to lose a series. They're going to make you beat them. If that makes sense.
Sure.
And the Lakers haven't done enough to beat them yet. And the Timberwolves have been great. And Jaden McDaniels has feasted on the bad defense of Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. He had 30 in Game 3, I think.
Yeah, and a majority of them were against Luka.
Yeah, I think he had 20 points matched up against Luka. And so it's just not a great look from the guy you traded for. We know Luka's great, but he's just not played up to that, and that's really hurt in this series. So that's kind of been my biggest takeaway is kind of zoomed out takeaway. There's a lot of small pieces that have played factors. Austin Reeves hasn't necessarily been as great. We have the Jackson Hayes piece of like the Lakers don't have a center they can confidently play, things like that. But I'm interested to see how. I mean, I don't know.
They run into such an interesting problem with this version of a team with Luka is they don't have the lob threats like they had last year in Gafford and Lively in Dallas. So for the Lakers, it's when you play a team like Minnesota, like he destroyed Minnesota, especially on the lobs. Still, like he was really, really good with the lobs throughout the series to Lively and Gafford. They're missing their chances on easy baskets.
Yeah.
And that forces the easy shots to be the 3-pointers. And they shoot 42% in game 3, but you don't really want to rely on the 3 a ton. You want to be able to get the easy baskets and then come to the 3-pointer. And so I think that's a problem for Luka and for them is they just lack that lob threat. And then again, they just don't have enough. They feel like the Nuggets where they feel like they're one player short.
Yeah.
LeBron, Reeves, and Doncic, and then Finney-Smith and Hachimura feel interchangeable, but like they need the 5th guy to be good. And Gabe Vanderbilt got minutes in Game 3, and he was decent. Goodwin got minutes in Game 3. Gabe Vincent's been getting minutes. Jackson Hayes is getting a few minutes here and there. It's just they're missing one player.
It's just not a well-rounded team, to be honest. It's also a thing of I know he's younger, but and you gave up the first, but it's almost like this team feels like it could use Mark Williams.
Yeah.
And I know that
yeah,
the injury
100%.
history, like they don't do the trade, but it's like, man, if they had Mark Williams, this team suddenly feels way more well-rounded, way more
100%.
well-rounded. And as good as Reeves is too, it's almost like I don't necessarily know if he's the best third option for this team because you would almost love someone that's a bit of a better defender to pair with Luka, who's not a good defender, and LeBron, who's just not quite as quick as he once was, so he's going to have some defensive struggles at times. Not a slight at Reeves at all as a player, but it just is the way this team came together. It's just not a perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of
fit.
how the history of LeBron has been. Like these teams, these super teams, or these even teams with LeBron where he's got one of their star. The third guy has always just kind of been like, kind of left out. It always kind of felt like his role didn't fit. Think of Miami with Chris Bosh. He changes from like this perennial scorer to essentially just a stretch big.
Yeah.
Think of Kevin Love. Like this guy was a double-double machine in Minnesota. He was dominant down in the interior. He becomes a stretch big. And think of when he went, not when he went back to Cleveland, when he comes to L.A., like the Lakers, and they didn't really ever have a great third option. And Reeves now has turned into that where it's like, well, he was great when it was him, LeBron, AD. He was because he can be the ball handler. He can run some offense. He can run the pick and roll with LeBron and AD. And now when you have Luka, there's no one to be the big pick and roll guy. There's no one to sit off. There's no one to focus on defensively because Luka and Austin Reeves can only play one-on-one. They can't play a two-man game.
Yeah.
So even if like LeBron is focused defensively, like you don't have production offense because you don't have a two-man game. And that's just like that's a big part of the NBA. You got to be good in the pick and roll. And the Lakers just aren't. And that's kind of like, I agree. Grant makes a great point where the Timberwolves are a team you have to go out and beat because they're so good defensively. Like,
they know who they are at this point, unlike this Lakers team. They're very comfortable in their own skin.
Oh, yeah. And that feels a lot like how the Rockets kind of feel right now, where the Rockets are just a team that you're just going to have to go out there and outscore them somehow. They're going to play great defensively. They're going to hit some shots here and there. They've got guys that can get to the rim. And, yeah, a big credit to the Timberwolves. I am curious to see how this game finishes up today. It felt like, to me, like the only adjustment the Lakers can make is just like, well, let's just hope it doesn't happen this time. Like Game 1, Jaden McDaniels goes off, and you don't get a great game from LeBron. Game 2, McDaniels isn't good. You get a great game from Luka. And now in Game 3, you get a bad game from Luka, but Jaden McDaniels was great again. So now I think JJ, like, the only thing you do is like, well, let's just hope it doesn't happen in Game 4.
They don't really have any other adjustments or options really to make.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they've been over helping on some stuff in my opinion, especially with Ant, and it's just let these other people feast. But with no rim protector to back up guys like Luka and Austin Reeves who aren't great defenders. It's just there's no security blanket inside and no one to make up for mistakes. It just makes everything look worse. So we'll see. I mean, the Timberwolves are a very good team, and so it's not going to be a bad loss for the Lakers. Realistically, I think it will be painted as such if they do end up losing the series. How will this affect LeBron's legacy? LeBron gets Luka, still can't win anything. But I mean, this is a very good Timberwolves team. They've been playing well.
Well, yeah, I keep coming back to like these teams are split by 1 game apiece this season. So,
and I mean, if Jaden McDaniels is going to play this well, it just really elevates the Timberwolves team, which I understand he's partially playing this well because the Lakers are. Grant calls Luka beanbag when he plays bad because he doesn't move on defense. So when you got beanbag guarding you, it becomes pretty easy to to get buckets. I mean, I think this series is going to end up going 7. In my opinion, I had the Lakers winning it in 6. I guess off a rip, but I think the Wolves get it done.
I do too.
Now.
I think it's
So they're going to pull off a
changed.
stunner in LA in Game 7.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We can move on though, unless you have anything else you want to add, or Sanders, if you want to provide some insight.
No. Would you like a Mississippi State sports update though? The baseball game.
Sure.
Are they down like huge?
We gave up. Our starter gave up 7 hits, 8 runs, and 3 walks in 1.1 innings.
That's pretty good.
Okay, we'll take that.
Sunday collapse is happening in college baseball, man.
We are down 11-3 currently.
Anyone?
Oh, A&M baseball's up though,
Uh,
trying to not get swept.
yeah, they are.
Huge.
All right, that'll move us on to Rockets Warriors.
I know it's what you want to talk about. I'm going to go first
Sure,
because I
go
know
ahead.
you're going to have a lot to say here.
Sure.
But this series is just pretty gross from the Rocket side of things, unsurprisingly. I'm trying to find Fred Van Vliet. I mean, 3 of 9 from 3 and in game 3, which I guess isn't atrocious. Jalen Green, 1 of 5 from 3. He ends up with 9 points. It's funny, Game 2 he was like brilliant.
38 in game 2.
One of the most polarizing players in the league. But every game just feels more the same in that the Houston doesn't have anyone that can score with Steph Curry in the clutch. Curry is about the best shot maker you're gonna have on the floor in any series. Doesn't matter who he's playing. But the gap between who the Rockets are counting on to make shots and Steph Curry is pretty massive. Now it's a bad look for the Rockets when Jimmy Butler doesn't play and you still lose. It's a game you really feel like you need to have. Be positive and have a great game. Shout out to Buddy Hield, stepped up in a big way with Jimmy Butler out, got some more minutes. Hit 5 threes, finished with 17. But this series very much feels wrapped, in my opinion. I don't know what the Jimmy Butler status is, if he'll be back for Game 4. I know it's game time for Game 3.
Game time was even like it felt like a stretch after the reporting after Game 3.
So maybe he's not. But they've got to feel comfortable. Keep rolling. We don't necessarily need Jimmy.
Yeah, we would take him in Game 5, regardless of how Game 4 goes. But, yeah, the report on Jimmy after Game 3 was, well, he was in such a state where, like, he couldn't move enough to even play basketball, like, in any capacity.
Yeah, not even
Game
NBA
3.
basketball.
So, like, that's a little troublesome. He may not even play the rest
Are you
of the
saying
series.
I could probably beat him 1-on-1 right now?
Yeah.
All right.
You might be able to get around him. Like, that's the way it sounded. It was like this guy wouldn't be able to do anything
on the
like,
court.
on the court to get around someone. He would just be kind of a standing
He'd be beanbag.
figure. Which if he was playing angle ball, like that's fine. He could stand and play defense at the top of the circle pretty easily at his length. But playing basketball where you'd have to play both ways, he wouldn't be the case. Go ahead. Do you have any more?
I mean, I was just kind of gonna wrap it up with this. I mean, we wondered how Curry would handle the Rockets' defense and the Rockets' length and the Rockets' athleticism. He had the bad game to end the regular season against them, but unsurprisingly, he's performed phenomenally in this series. He's done this time. I mean, he's won 4 rings. Four rings.
Oh.
Sorry, Steph. Didn't mean to take one away from you.
It's-
He's been in a ton of big games. He's very unfazed, and it feels like it's the opposite on the Rockets side. So, I don't. I said Warriors in 6, and I'm going to stick with that. Kind of looking at it, I can see the Rockets getting hot for another game. Maybe get another Jalen Green 30 piece, but it's just they don't have enough to win 4 games.
Oh yeah, I mean you watch the entirety of Game 3, and for 3 quarters you're like, oh, well, the Rockets are just going to win this game. It felt like I was watching a regular season game. It really did, and it really felt like I was watching an early regular season game for the Warriors without Jimmy. Like, this team is just not good around Steph Curry.
With another team that really doesn't have much scoring
Mhm.
outside of Steph, the difference is that Warriors have Steph and Houston doesn't have anybody really. So
And it felt like they had to rely on defense, but they weren't great defense. So it was such an interesting game. Here's your through 3 games of the series. Here are your 8 leading scorers: Steph Curry, Alfred Şengün,
I saw this.
Jalen
Yeah.
Green, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason. Sanders, how many players of those are on the Warriors?
2?
1.
Was it just 1? Oh.
Just
But he has
Steph
like
Curry.
30 more points than anyone else.
He has
in this series.
87. He's the next closest is Şengün with 58. But he is the leading scorer, and then the next 7 guys are Rockets. So that's kind of like just give Steph Curry some flowers. They've been he's been outstanding, and it's another like they have all these guys to throw at him, but like who cares? Like,
Good offense beats good defense.
He doesn't care. He does it so well. I've been in spots like that where you get guarded like that, where you're immediately get identified of, oh, you're the guy that can shoot. We're gonna face guard you, keep you from getting the ball
Hey,
and
Jax
everything.
had that too.
Yeah,
No, not quite.
That one game where you hit 4 threes and they started doing it to you.
Well, yeah, that was the game of my life. You should see my shooting performance on Thursday.
I felt that in angle ball. That happened to me the other night. It does well. He's so good at finding the spots where you just take yourself entirely out of the play. Like a lot of time in basketball, I would just go stand in the corner and just take
Yeah.
the guy out of the play and let my team play 4-on-4. And then he finds the moments where, like your little brother did on that night at that night game, where they just kind of lose their laps for 1 second, and then you make the cut and you get wide open. And Curry is just outstanding at doing that. He picks the moments and the spots so well, and then he delivers every time he gets it. So flowers to Steph Curry, especially at age 37, to be doing this. It's so cool that like we've grown up and we've watched sports, and that these like perennial players have just been good for 15 plus years. It feels like in all of these sports, it feels like it's really, really cool to see. And Curry is just like, he's outstanding even at 37. Yeah. Again, clutch time scoring again was a problem for the Rockets. They didn't really. Şengün was the guy they would go to, but then Şengün he was put in 3 or 4 tough spots down the stretch. He got doubled in 2 of them, and he passes it up to VanVleet or Jalen Green. And then off of that double team, it felt like a guy was going to be open, and then they picked the spot perfectly, and they threw it out of bounds. Or Draymond Green gets a steal, and they get it to Gary Payton on the dunk.
Yeah.
And so, like, the Rockets just...
The Rockets had 4 turnovers in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Exactly, yeah.
Not what you want at all. It's just... I said in the group chat, and it was half joking because I understand he's a rookie, and he's probably not there yet. I'll trust the Rockets. But the Reed Shepherd type of player is really what the Rockets could use. Someone that's a consistent shooter, can handle the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I know college and NBA are different things, but even think about the Mississippi State game where he comes and hits the huge shot to win.
I don't think it matters to him. I think he's
Correct.
that good.
He's got it in the clutch. He showed it time and time again in college.
Like, I would start him over Podziemski if I was the Warriors. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it honestly is kind of weird that
Wait,
I mean,
isn't Reed Shepherd in the Rockets?
well, I think that's what we're saying. That
yeah,
was
like if Reed Shepherd was on the Warriors, I would start him.
he just couldn't. The Warriors have the Rockets.
He would play minutes.
The Rockets have a deep team, and so he
Ah.
just never got the chance to get established. And I'm wondering if they had let him get established, if he could really help them in a series like
I agree.
this.
Now
It's
I'm
a
with
huge if. It's a huge what could have been. But you draft the guy 3rd overall to just basically bury him for a year, and maybe 2 years down the line he'll come back and be like, oh, he just like never really was that good. But I mean, I watch him all the time in college. He's a hooper.
He was great in He's been great in the G League
Yeah.
too. He's had multiple 30-plus point games in the G League as well.
He's a scorer. He's a great shooter. He's a consistent shooter, and that's something the Rockets don't have. They got streaky shooters.
And he showed multiple times at Kentucky, like, he's a clutch shooter too.
Yeah.
He hit big shots at Kentucky in numerous spots, and he had big games and big moments. Like, it doesn't make any sense for them to not play him. Warriors feel like they're in control of the series. I wouldn't play Jimmy for Game 4. I'd rest him for Game 5. I still think they could easily lose Game 4.
I don't think they really worry that much if they lose Game 4, though.
Yeah, but I don't think they have. Yeah, like you said, yeah, they shouldn't worry about that a lot at all. It's crazy to look at Şengün's stat line, only 15, 11, and 4. And having watched the entire game, it felt like he kind of dominated the entire game. So, like, that's such an interesting thing about this Rockets team. They just don't score as much as they need to. Like, even their most dominant player, Şengün, at 15, 11, and 4 is just not as much as I thought it was, to be honest.
Yeah. Points are to premium. I do wonder how many shots did he get?
Shot 18 times.
Okay, so just like not necessarily put up
One
like
for 6 at the foul line.
that
was a kind of a bad one for the Rockets. They were 14 for 24 from the foul line. Warriors get it done. I think they'll get it done. I think they'll win Game 4.
Yeah,
but I would not be surprised.
It's just hard for me to trust the Rockets to win a game at this point.
Yeah.
So other series, we had OKC swept Memphis.
Largest comeback in NBA history.
Yep, Alex Caruso was a baller at the end of Game 3, just clamps defensively, was ripping people left and right. Then they had the really large comeback, like you talked about. That Games 3 and 4 were actually pretty eventful and very close. They were a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by that.
So it was not me either. It wasn't like Games 1 and 2 necessarily, where it's just a massive blowout. But the Thunder move on. They get to rest. They're done. I mean, they're just a weight. And what is probably going to be a 7-game series, where you're going to have to
hard-fought series.
You're going to have to give everything you got to get out of the first round if you're the Clippers or the Nuggets, and then you just have OKC, who's feet up on the couch right now, just waiting. The Cavs beat the Heat to go up 3-0. Not really tons there. We got the little Tyler Hero Darius Garland beef, where they're both like, I think Darius Garland called Tyler Hero a bad defender. He's like, that's basically our game plan, and then Tyler Hero was like, I know you're not talking. You're a terrible defender as well. So they've been going back and forth, but the Cavs are up 3-0.
Tyler Hero also said, don't let us get one. So
he did say that. No disrespect, Tyler. I don't believe you. If you get one, I'm still just going to say Cavs in 5. Celtics, Magic. The Magic pulled one off. Paulo and Franz were great, which is what the Magic is all they have. It's what they need to win. Kind of felt like they would probably get one, to be honest. Jaylen Brown, shocker that a Celtics player is going to complain after the game because they're somehow so soft. But he basically talked about how they're going to end up getting in a fight if the refs don't get it under control or something like that.
There were some issues with it. I don't know if you actually watched it.
I watched a little bit of the end. I didn't get the whole thing.
But there were some egregious errors with the clock.
I did hear about
that.
Didn't
make any sense at all. They went to review at one point. Like Derek White dunks it with like 37 seconds left. And so, or it might have been 29 seconds left. The shot clock was supposed to be separated by 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Or 4 seconds. And for some reason, the clock runs, but they don't start the shot clock.
Of course.
Which they're supposed to do. They're supposed to start the shot clock immediately as soon as we are live. Yeah, like I was saying, there was just some clock egregious errors there, but Magic, credit to them. They went out and won this game. Credit to Dwight Howard. Paulo Banchero has been excellent in this series. Now they have only won one game, but
he's hooped.
He is hooped, yes, 100%.
Yeah, I don't necessarily... the clock thing was tough, and I'm not saying like it doesn't make sense for the Celtics to talk about it. Just coming out being like, oh, we're going to have to fight. It's just kind of a classic Celtics thing where I'm also like, I don't think y'all would ever actually fight anyone.
And that's been a problem in this entire postseason, too. Like, each team on both sides.
It's a lot of tough guy, no hold me back type stuff.
And they've also had major complaints about the refs.
True.
Like, I think the Pistons, after today's game, should have... Like it wasn't egregious, but that's a foul. Tim Hardaway got fouled on that 3-point shot earlier today, and they don't call it for whatever reason.
I saw Curry got
Curry.
Dylan Brooks leapt into Curry last night.
Has just that was an egregious no call. He's been getting mauled this entire series. Now he's been getting mauled his entire career. But
does not get the superstar whistle for the most part.
Yeah. But that's just part of it. One thing I do love about the playoffs is like, while there is been some egregious calls and bad no calls, ultimately, like, it hasn't felt like the refs have controlled these narratives. It's been player narratives, and that's what's been awesome about the playoffs so far. So yeah, Magic get it done. They play tonight against the Celtics. See if they can steal Game 4 in Orlando.
It would get a little interesting then. Then the other series is Pacers-Bucks, who the Bucks took Game 3 against the Pacers. Giannis was great as he's been all series. He's been the best player in the series. It just hasn't mattered. He's not enough help in the first couple games. And then we got the Gary Trent game out of nowhere. He hit like 9 threes, I think.
Yeah,
Had like 37 or something, which is a huge lift for the Bucks that have just been needing someone else to score the basketball.
9 threes, 37 points.
Yep. I mean, because Dame has just, I mean,
Dame has 7.
yeah, I mean, you can't blame Dame. There's no way he has his game legs back. I mean, he just got thrust into this off of a blood clot, off of an injury. But it's just, yeah, I mean, it's just not what we want. But shout out Gary Trent. I remember him from his Raptor days when the Raptors were really good and he was kind of coming on. But that's a huge game. So, grand scheme of things, I don't really think it matters. I still like the Pacers here. But you don't really necessarily want to end up in a close series with Giannis, where it's just like we need this game because you never know what Giannis is going to come out and drop 40 all of a sudden. Is that every series?
Yeah, they'll play again tonight. In my opinion, I would address all the credit to NBA Centel for the Bucks win last night. They did the Doc Rivers tweet again before
that's
Game
right.
3. It happened during the regular season. Like, the Bucks were bad, and Centel tweeted like, "Oh, Doc Rivers reported is going to start taking head coaching seriously now."
And they started playing really
and they
well.
won like 7 games in a row.
Yeah, I forgot
And
about
so
that.
he did that before Game 3, and they won Game 3. So that's where my credit will go for Game 3. Although Gary Trent was outstanding.
I do think that's good credit. It's the meme of, I think I saw something similar he put. He had that one, and he also was like, Doc Rivers is just trying a new strategy after always losing up 3-1.
Yeah.
He's going to try and do the down
The down
3-1 and see if he can reverse it.
That would be crazy.
That would be crazy, man. What a change in narrative. But it's a big win for sure. I mean, their franchise future is kind of hanging in the balance of what happens here. So, if I was a Bucks fan, I would be enjoying these
I'd
games
enjoy
as
the
you have them
postseason run,
because
and
you don't
then
know what you're going to get next season.
when this ends, then we can start discussing what needs to happen because there's serious questions.
Yeah.
But for now, watch it. Enjoy Giannis in Milwaukee. This could be the end of Milwaukee, and Giannis, we'll see.
Cool. I think that's the last series, no?
Did you already do? Yeah, you did.
We talked about Celtics Magic. That's it. Kind of a little bit of a hectic show today. We were all over the place.
Shorter show, around an hour 40.
It's really 2 shows mixed into one.
How?
Well, the NFL draft could have been its own show. It could have been
True.
a 50-minute
True.
show, and then this could have been a 50-minute show. So
This is true. Once we start doing 3 shows a week, we'll have shorter shows around an hour 20.
Sure.
I mean, come on. You can't discredit us yet. Jack and I nailed short show last time. So
Yeah.
This is true.
I
now
did not
batting
give my short show prediction for this one.
Who said short show today? JP.
I said it
JP did.
jokingly, but
Yeah.
we
Okay,
had
okay.
4 days of NBA games to talk about and
True,
the draft.
true.
Some series had multiple games.
Yeah.
True.
Um,
So Jack's now batting like 1 for 3.
No, that was my first real call that one time.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I would say
I
for 2.
said this time I actually believe it's going to be a short show.
And then if it hadn't, okay, this time for real, guys. And then you'd be 1 for 1. That's
We could argue all we want here.
Oh, ow, my headset.
But
I've been over here having a
in
great
my eyes,
time
I'm 1
scrolling
for
Twitter.
1. Yeah. Any big
see,
news you stumbled
any
upon
big news
before we end the show?
The kid that pranked Shedeur Sanders apologized. He posted, and then apparently he said, "Thank you for accepting my phone call earlier today."
And he's a son of like a DC, right?
He's a son of a Falcons staffer, defensive coordinator. Yeah. So that happened.
Classic Falcons.
Uyunglele is
he
going.
goes to the school up north too.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Baseball is not doing too hot.
What about have you thought about who your NFL team is?
I have not.
I don't think we end the recording until he decides.
Do you mind if I propose who my team was going to be for you?
You can propose it.
I was going to have you be a Miami Dolphins fan.
Miami Dolphins? Why am I a Dolphins fan?
Semi-regional.
Semi-regional, yeah.
It's only 18 hours away. Pretty close.
If you look on a map, it's in the same quadrant of the map.
Not like it's not a bandwagon pick,
No?
but you're also not picking a poverty franchise.
I mean, if I was going to pick a team, it'd probably be the Browns.
Good luck.
There we go.
I mean, if that's where you want to go with,
I don't
Final
want to be.
answer.
I don't want to choose an NFL team. I don't want to. I don't.
Why?
I get enough emotional distress from my college teams. I don't need it from my NFL.
Okay, then bandwagon.
Bandwagon.
Welcome.
I'm a Chiefs fan.
Well, I was gonna say Detroit Lions. I wasn't gonna make you
Oh, I
that
could cheer
bad
for
of
the
a guy.
Lions. I could cheer for the Lions.
But I mean, the Dolphins. You got Tua.
For how? Yeah, for 3 games out of the season.
Well, until Quinn Ewers
Yeah,
replaces
Quinn
him.
Ewers.
True.
Devon
As a
Achane
dog.
is there.
Now people are saying that
My hero.
people are calling Quinn Ewers the biggest misread in high school evaluations we've ever seen.
DJ Uyunglele.
Yeah, like
I mean, Quinn Ewers was a perfect rated prospect.
yeah, but he was
good in college.
he was good. He was not great. He was not great in college, but he was better. It was not the worst miss we've seen when it comes to rating.
He literally made the playoffs twice.
Sure.
For joining Texas.
Yeah, they did make it twice. Wow.
Joining Texas, who now he went to Ohio State first, but joining Texas, like Texas wasn't
not
Texas again yet.
I mean, they had the days with Sam Ellinger. They were good then.
They were all right.
They went like 8-4. I was a big Sam Ellinger guy
Oh,
when he was at
the
Texas.
biggest-
no offense.
So you're a
The
Colts
biggest
fan.
win of Aggie on Aggie Twitter in a long time was the day Kellen Mond was drafted higher than Sam Ellinger, because those two mid QBs got compared to each other all the time, and everyone was convinced that their mid QB was better than their rival's mid QB, and we got the last laugh.
I did
So,
just ask Steve Palazzolo. Let me see if I can find. I think this could be interesting. So I saw a tweet that said in 2 years, the NFL draft could possibly feature these superstars, and it's Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Dylan Stewart from South Carolina, Colin Simmons, a safety or a linebacker from Texas,
defensive lineman. He
defensive
plays
lineman.
edge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Arch Manning potentially, DJ Lagway, KJ Bolden, Cam Coleman from Auburn, Bryant Wesco from Clemson,
You can read
Nico
over the.
Imalia.
I was about to say you could read over that name, but
Ryan Wingo from Texas, Dylan Raiola. So a lot of really interesting names, and I asked, and he hasn't responded.
Dylan
I'm curious
Raiola.
if he will.
that's my fantasy QB.
I mean,
okay,
he
respect
was
him.
a 5-star prospect.
Respect Ravioli, man.
Lagway still won't have beaten Georgia, so it won't matter.
Anyway, I said, is this may be recency bias, but is this the most hype we've seen around a draft class this far out?
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm not a
curious.
college football historian like I am the other sports.
Yeah, that's why I didn't ask you guys. I asked somebody who knows more about college football.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked
Yes,
your
yeah.
Sanders. It has like tunnel vision here. It's like Steve Palazzolo brainwashes him. It's like just gets blipped to his brain, and that's
yeah,
like
you
what
need
he
to
believes.
diverse.
I don't have time to diverse. They put out like 8 hours of content a week. I don't have that much time for
And
listening
watch
to
only
podcasts.
an hour of it. Then go watch Josh Pate.
Oh, I take it back. I listened to Check the Mic and Josh Pate.
Make sure
Both.
you're up to date with what Stephen A. thinks,
No, I'm
so you
not.
can tear it apart.
I couldn't tell you the last time. The only Stephen A. Smith I
Y'all see he added a random shadur that had one tweet.
Yes, that was hilarious.
That was
That
a
was
really fun
so
one.
fun.
And there's one tweet was like he was trying to get Gordon Ramsay to rate his
Yeah.
sub or whatever it was.
Do you
I
think
saw
that?
that.
Do you
That
think?
was
Do you
funny.
think he did that intentionally, or do you think he just had no idea?
I think
He
he
had
did
no
that.
idea.
I think he did it intentionally. Maybe not.
I think it was just probably no idea.
I struggled whether to think he's for real on all of this or he's just, joking. He's in it for the bit at this point.
What
as
about,
a rage baiter?
Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless. I don't think is joking.
Skip Bayless just old at this point, so yeah, I don't think he's joking either. I think he has lost the plot.
Lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
check in on baseball real quick.
Okay, and then we can end
see how
after
things
that.
are going.
Or just kind of chatting up.
End
at
of
this
the
point.
fourth, Auburn is up 11-3. That was 22 minutes ago.
Game's not over.
But on the bright side, Brent Rooker just hit a RBI double.
Shout out Brent Rooker. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Like I said, it was a bit of a hectic show. We all kind of had busy weekends, so we were trying to get it together last minute. But thanks for tuning in. This will come out Monday morning, and we'll be back for y'all Thursday morning after we record Wednesday, and we will see y'all then. Peace.
See ya.